I got her. Got her. Hashtag yawn gang.
Mm-hmm.
She had just yawned too, but luckily we're in the magic corner of the apartment that makes her yawn all the time.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm rather perturbed that we're still in the apartment. We should totally be in our house.
No, we were never scheduled to be in our house right now. We still have 2 weeks from when we were scheduled to be in the house.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're still a month away, and I'm pissed off about it. So
I'm so sorry. We'll get there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when.
I don't know either.
Or how. Maybe we can light a fire underneath these guys. Anyways.
That probably won't work. Plus, if we light a fire underneath their asses, they're in our house and it might burn down and then we have to start all over. I don't want to do that.
Light the fire outside the house.
But then they'll run in the house.
I mean, not if we shut all the doors.
I mean, fair point, I guess.
Anyways, building frustrations aside, hi, honey. You ready for more Bible stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. You ready for Eazy-E?
I am ready for more Eazy-E.
All right.
You going to teach me about it?
I'm going to teach about Eazy-E today.
Okay.
And 3 different parables.
Okay.
About how God's going to fuck Israel up bad.
Okay, I'm ready.
I don't know why he had to reiterate it 3 times other than the magical number 3.
3 times. What do you mean 3 times? God has said he's going to fuck them up so many times.
Well, I know, but he uses 3 different ways to tell them in this particular Bible study today.
Yeah, in this
specifically.
Bible study. Yeah. Well, it's over the course of 3 chapters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But in a single Bible study is what I meant.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so last time, God had Eazy-E crawl through shit, cosplay an exiled Jew, and had him scream obscenities at young children.
Sounds like a good time.
Does it?
No.
Can y'all just imagine Casey out on the sidewalk screaming obscenities at children? It's like, this is a good day. All right, so the first way, these were all allegories, by the way. The first way, God is going to talk about Judah getting fucked over in several different ways. The first way, God starts with a useless vine that George of the Jungle uses to swing from. George then swings from a vine into a bonfire, which he represents Israel. And Israel is going to get burnt alive.
Yikes.
Hardcore, get fucked, Israel. You're useless as shit. I'm just going to use you as kindling. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, that sounds rude.
It does.
You know what makes really good kindling?
What?
I mean, besides hair?
Cow shit?
Well, no. Dryer lint.
Yeah.
That's one of those like survivalist things. They tell you save your dryer lint because it makes excellent kindling. Like save your dryer lint in gallon bags and just toss it with all of your other survival shit.
Oh. Should we start doing that?
Yeah, when we get in the house, we have room. Yeah, we're going to do that.
Oh, okay. We don't have room in the survival bag that you have now?
Well, so the survivor thing I have now, yes, there's room, but it's kind of in the closet and there's shit on top of it. So when there's not shit on top of it, then we'll have room.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, God is going to talk about a cheating bitch. And this is a parable, of course. Or allegory, whatever. So anyways, this wife that God has, right? When she was born, she came out filthy, salty, and she was still attached at the umbilical. Basically, her name was Karen.
She wasn't salty. That was the problem.
The baby was then discarded in a field and told to fuck off.
Rude.
Luckily, babies at this time, at least in this allegory, work a lot like plants. And the baby was the seed, and so it sprouted roots and like a plant and was able to produce green manna for everyone. Anybody wanted to like throw down some like green spells, they would just have to soak it up from her, I guess. Anyways, the girl plant then grew big titties, and God wanted to fuck them.
Oh, no.
So
I knew this one wasn't going to go well.
So God wanted to fuck her, and so he clothed her and then had his way with her. The girl plant woman is Israel in this allegory or whatever. So God basically graped Israel. Didn't ask permission or anything.
Not the first time.
No, wouldn't be the first time he graped them. God then cleaned Israel up and gave her some special jewelry, kind of like pedophiles do. I mean, that's one of the key indicators. Getting them jewelry and stuff like that, treating them special.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I mean,
it's part of grooming.
It is God's grooming.
I mean, that's exactly what he's describing, grooming Israel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
God then made her a queen, still treating her special. But then she decided to sell her body on Craigslist. I don't know if that's where you do that kind of stuff, but Craigslist.
Etsy.
Etsy.
eBay.
Yeah. And she was doing it just to piss God off. And then she found her way to the big dick Egyptian's house. And
it actually does say that.
Yep. God got so hard from being cucked like this that he was aroused with anger. God then decides to fuck up all the Egyptians in the frat house for having their big dicks just out and all over the place.
Or just for having them because he's got dick envy.
He does. He's got a small dick. Little dick God. Anyways, but not only does God beat the fuck out of the Egyptians in the frat house, but also God beats and terrorizes his wife, Israel. All right, so to move on from that one, let's talk about 2 eagles and a vine.
We didn't even get to the point of the parable.
So anyways, this one eagle flies by, picks up a vine and plants it in a Walmart, because that's where you do that kind of shit. And then another eagle does something or another. But anyways, the point of this is that Lord Zed in Jerusalem gets abducted by aliens, or also known as the Babylonians. God is going to plant a vine in the Smoky Mountains and create the world tree from Norse mythology. Yep. God ironically discusses taking responsibility for your own actions.
That's weird.
It is weird considering the fact that he's all about pushing the blame off onto the Israelites this entire time. Like in the other books, I mean, God was like, listen, I'm about to beat your ass, but it's your own fault. Mm-hmm. I'm not the one doing it. It hurts me more, or it hurts me more than it hurts you. Yeah, sorry, I had to get that right. I'm not an abusive fuck, so I don't know how that goes.
Yeah.
And then he wants to clarify with everybody right here at the end, okay? If you're a good person and you do something wicked, you're gonna burn in the hellfires forever. But if you're a wicked person that repents, you're golden. You get through the gates.
Accurate.
Yep, and that's going to be it for the Bible study today. That last part really is the only part that you really need to know about, other than our lawyers want to tell you to don't go out and fuck the plants.
The lawyers called about the plants?
Yeah, I mean, very specifically about the plants. Apparently, there's a big problem with people going around fucking the earth. Literally. Okay. They're called ecosexuals.
And this is a big problem.
I mean, yeah. You ever seen a naked person fucking the ground out in your yard?
I mean, in my yard, that would be a problem. But if they're doing it in their yard, that's really not my business.
Hey, Phil, could you please quit fucking my plants, please? I would really appreciate it.
You have 4 flower beds in your yard. Can you keep it on your property?
Phil's just out there playing in the mud, rubbing it on his junk.
I'll even buy Phil a potted plant.
Yeah.
Like, here you go. Keep this on your yard.
Would you have to microwave it and microwave it after he puts water in it?
You probably shouldn't microwave a plant.
Well, I meant like a pot with soil in it.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Why would one?
I was thinking back to like American Pie.
Just set it in the sun for a little while. It'll be fine.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What's up, heathens?
How y'all doing?
So, as you all heard in the opening, I got shit wrong. I mean, honestly, these are allegories, so it's really in the eye of the beholder what the meaning is. I mean, that's what I've always heard.
I mean, fair, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, there's generally accepted meanings, but you can take out of it what you will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, there's definitely a George of the Jungle swinging on a vine. And
No.
then he gets thrown into a bonfire today.
That's not a thing.
Something's getting thrown into a bonfire.
Okay. So today we're going to be going over Ezekiel 15 through 18.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to just we're going through 3 allegories, and then we're going to talk about personal responsibility.
Because that's not weird and ironic.
I've got verses for you. I've got verses.
Right. Well, I'll try to keep my mouth shut as much as possible. I think I've said my piece on the whole plant lady getting graped by God.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're the funny one, so you probably should, chime in here and there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It just feels like it's going to be a long day, so.
We'll do our best.
Okay.
Okay. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, how is the wood of a vine different from that of a branch from any of the trees in the forest? Is wood ever taken from it to make anything useful? Do they make pegs from it to hang things on? So they're talking about the wood of a vine, right? Versus the wood of a tree. Like, is there any use for the wood of a vine at all?
I mean, booby traps.
I guess in survivalist situations. Second time we've mentioned survival. But the point he's trying to make is, which is interesting, they don't mention fruit because vines, typically fruit grow on vines. So the purpose of a wood of a vine is you move the nutrients through and the fruit gets nutrients right through the vine. So the vine is not useless, but it's not useful in the same way that wood of a tree is useful. And if the vines bear no fruit, essentially he's saying the wood is useless.
They're doubly useless.
Okay. So after it is thrown on the fire as fuel and the fire burns both ends and chars the middle, is it then useful for anything? If it was not useful for anything when it was whole, how much less can it be made into something useful when the fire has burned it and it is charred? Good point, God.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they use a lot of words just to say, hey, vines are pretty fucking useless. I'm about to describe something using vine as an allegory.
Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. As I have given the wood of the vine among the trees of the forest as fuel for the fire, so will I treat the people living in Jerusalem. I will set my face against them. Although they have come out of the fire will yet consume them. And when I set my face against them, you will know that I am Lord. I will make the land desolate because they have been unfaithful, declares the sovereign Lord.
Set his face against them?
Yeah, he bitch slaps them. So like he won't show them his face. He's taking himself away from them to
is
punish
that what
them.
it means?
Yeah.
Because I just imagine God like looking down into Jerusalem and like putting his face flush against like the town.
No. Turning his face away from them so they can't see him.
Okay.
Yeah. It's because, if I just turn my head around like this, magically somehow you can't see me. I'm like John fucking Cena.
Thought I was supposed to be the funny one.
So I just find this interesting because he's comparing Israel to the wood of the vine, which is useless. So Israel's useless unless, of course, they bear his fruit, right? Israel's useless, and he's going to burn them in the fire. And once they're burned, they'll also be useless.
Yep. I mean, it sounds like an abuser.
It's hard to imagine the point of this fucking story. But the next story is the fun one. You ready? This story is great. So this is the unfaithful wife's allegory. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, confront Jerusalem with her detestable practices and say, This is what the sovereign Lord says to Jerusalem. Your ancestry and birth were in the land of the Canaanites. Your father was an Amorite and your mother a Hittite. On the day you were born, your cord was not cut, nor were you washed with water to make you clean, nor were you rubbed with salt or wrapped in clothes. Now.
Fuck.
I just have to say, I saw this, nor were you rubbed with salt. And I had to take pause because I'm like, who the fuck rubs a baby with salt?
I don't think you should rub anything out with salt.
But, well, salt is actually an antiseptic. It has antiseptic properties.
Oh, okay. I still don't think you should use it as like hand lotion.
No, probably not. It would hurt. But you can use it on a wound.
Right.
To help it not get infected. I know that sounds weird, but it's true.
Okay.
Okay, so there are natural properties to salt that make it very useful.
Well, I thought that like putting salt on a wound was like a bad thing.
No, it just burns. It just stings, but it's not a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, this practice of salting the baby is and this is not salting to cook it, so atheists calm down, okay? This isn't like pre-roast seasoning.
We gotta season our dessert here.
This is something they do with newborns, and this practice is thousands of years old.
Right, a religious practice, right?
Yeah, and it started in, as far as we know, it started in Turkey. But
fucking Turkeyans.
they salt the baby's skin to supposedly help promote good health for the infant. The problem is, if you oversalt your baby, as anybody knows.
It's a lot like if you oversalt your ham. Dries that sumbitch out.
It dries them out. Something awful. Well, I mean, like when you're working with meat and you salt it, like you can salt to dry, like to create jerky. And so you don't want to don't put salt on your baby's skin. I read a story about this, these parents who took their baby into the hospital because it was like legit dying and they didn't know why. And it was because they were salting the baby, like rubbing salt onto the baby's skin for an hour, like 2 or 3 times a day. And I'm like, first of all, this poor baby's skin is probably raw as fuck. But also they caused it to have this, it's a specific type of dehydration. Because as you all know, we're made out of mostly water. Yeah, it's called hypernatremic dehydration. And it's life-threatening. Yeah. And you could kill your baby. So, which I don't know. I don't understand why this was ever like a tradition in any kind of sense, because I would think that even people now or at this point in time would know that you can't go to the ocean and drink the salt water and like not die. Well, they rub it on they thought that it was promoted good health. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. Don't do it. This is what religion does to you. Just don't do it. Okay, so it's actually kind of a good thing that the baby wasn't rubbed with salt, but in this sense, it's bad that the baby wasn't rubbed with salt because no one cared. It continues. No one looked on you with pity or had compassion enough to do any of these things for you. Rather, you were thrown out into the open field, for on the day you were born, you were despised. I have to wonder how, if they didn't cut the cord, the baby was thrown out in the field. Yeah, I don't know. You would think, like, I don't know. I don't think that you could throw a baby that far without cutting the umbilical. Maybe they threw it so hard the umbilical just tore. Oh, gross. I don't want to talk about that. Okay, so then I passed by, and I in this case is God. God is telling the story, right? Then I passed by and saw you kicking about in your blood, and as you lay there in your blood, I said to you, live. I wish I had that kind of power. Just walk by somebody and be like, live. Yeah. I made you grow like a plant in the field. You grew and developed and entered puberty. Your breasts had formed and your hair had grown, yet you were stark naked. This is getting a little uncomfortable. Wait a second. So
God sees a nasty, just born baby tossed into a field, umbilical cord dangling and everything. And he's like, live. And the kid grows to at least puberty.
Well, it doesn't say it happens in an instant.
Oh.
It just says, I said live. I made you grow like a plant in the field. You grew and developed and entered puberty. So I'm not, it doesn't say if it happened right away or if it took time.
Right.
And God nurtured the baby.
I kind of feel like this is like having a lot of stuff like put in there that's just simply not there.
Yeah. But we're just starting to get to the uncomfortable part. Okay. So God's now checking out this
newly grown girl.
Newly pubescent.
Right, which girls are known to enter puberty between the ages of 8 and 14 or something.
I don't know what the young age is. I think the average is around 12 or 13 is average. I don't know how early it can happen.
Okay. The point is that as soon as the girl started to show titties, God was interested.
Yeah, and her hair had grown. Not on her head.
Oh, I didn't catch that earlier.
Yeah, that's the point.
Oh, okay.
Because, kids younger than puberty have hair on their heads.
True.
This is about lady hair.
This is really creepy now that I know that particular context. I'm uncomfortable trying to think of jokes to make about God here because it's.
Well, then let's just keep reading and make you more uncomfortable.
What?
Later, I passed by, and when I looked at you and saw that you were old enough for love.
That should be read as fucking. The girl was at fucking age, apparently.
I spread the corner of my garment over you and covered your naked body. I gave you my solemn oath and entered into a covenant with you, declares the sovereign Lord, and you became mine.
Oh my God, no.
Yes.
I feel like there's so much innuendo in that.
It's meant to be because they can't just straight up say God fucked Israel.
Right.
And made it his bitch.
With his oath.
It
was a small oath, though.
We're going to find that out here in a second. You ready? Well, not in a second. It's going to be a couple more minutes. But, and then it continues. So they did the deed, right? And then God says, I bathed you with water and washed the blood from you and put ointments on you. I clothed you with an embroidered dress and put sandals of fine leather on you. I dressed you in fine linen and covered you with costly garments. I adorned you with jewelry. I put bracelets on your arms and a necklace around your neck and put a ring on your nose, earrings in your ears, and a beautiful crown on your head. So you were adorned with gold and silver. Your clothes were of fine linen and costly fabric and embroidered cloth.
Yeah, so I feel like this is the grooming part because it's
he dressed her pretty.
He graped her, gave her special jewelry, special clothes, and really love bombed her.
Yeah.
It sounds abusive.
Well, so I think this is really interesting because it talks about how he adorned her with jewelry, with gold and silver, how that's he's pampering her, right? Which I think is really interesting because in 1 Timothy and 1 Peter, it talks about how women should not adorn themselves with jewels. They should be respectable in apparel, modest, not with braided hair or gold or pearls or costly attire. And let's see, it says that was in 1 Timothy and 1 Peter. It says, do not let your adorning be external, the braiding of hair and putting on of gold jewelry or the clothing you wear, but let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. So it says in other parts of the Bible that women shouldn't be adorned with jewels and fine clothes. So this seems a little contradictory to me, but there we are. You want to continue? You got anything?
Yep.
Okay. Your food was honey, olive oil, and the finest flour. You became very beautiful and rose to be a queen, and your fame spread among the nations on account of your beauty, because the splendor I had given you made your beauty perfect, declares the sovereign Lord. But You trusted in your beauty and used your fame to become a prostitute. You lavished your favors on anyone who passed by, and your beauty became his. You took some of your garments to make gaudy high places where you carried on your prostitution. You went to him, and he possessed your beauty.
Can you imagine walking down the street of Jerusalem and there's just this really tall, high place and there's a woman on top, like, broadcasting her services?
I mean, that's kind of how they make it out to be.
Yeah.
You also took the fine jewelry I gave you, the jewelry made of my gold and silver, and you made for yourself male idols and engaged in prostitution with them.
She made dildos.
Yes.
She fucked herself with dildos.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the one time where I could say, like, yeah, God and dildos, and it would be true.
And you took your embroidered clothes to put on them and offered my oil and incense before them. Also, the food I provided for you, the flour, olive oil, and honey I gave you to eat, you offered as a fragrant incense before them. This is what happened, declares the sovereign Lord.
You know, sometimes a bitch wants to worship big dick.
We're not even to that part.
Well, I mean, obviously these male idols are a bit more satisfying than God is.
I mean, I've always been. Never mind. And you took your sons and daughters whom you bore to me and sacrificed them as food to the idols. Was your prostitution not enough? You slaughtered my children and sacrificed them to the idols. In all your detestable practices and your prostitution, you did not remember the days of your youth when you were naked and bare, kicking about in your blood. Generally, you don't remember the day that you're born. Sorry. Woe. Woe to you, declares the sovereign Lord. In addition to all your other wickedness, you built a mound for yourself and made a lofty shrine in every public square. At every street corner, you built your lofty shrines and degraded your beauty, spreading your legs with increasing promiscuity to anyone who passed by. Yes. You engaged in prostitution with the Egyptians, your neighbors with large genitals, and aroused my anger with your increasing promiscuity.
Somebody's got dick envy right there. Them Egyptians with their big fucking dicks.
That's what's so weird about this to me, is that it doesn't just say you engaged in prostitution with the Egyptians. Like, they have to clarify the Egyptians. Your neighbors with large dicks.
I've seen their dicks all swinging about and shit. You can't fool me, they're Israel.
I'm really not sure why that was important to add here.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, so the wife has not only fashioned herself some dildos and decided to fuck herself with it.
She's fucking the neighbors.
She's standing on the side of the road, spreading her legs for just everybody that walks by. That's got to be uncomfortable for like the family looking to go to like temple or like the grocery store or something like that.
Or just to go to fucking get bagels.
Well, guys, please don't, honey, don't look at that woman. She's crazy. But then she's also got the frat boys next door, the Egyptians with large dicks. And she goes over there and I guess makes the rounds over there too. I don't know. I kind of feel like this is a bit of an embellishment on God's behalf there.
Well, once we get this section, we'll wrap it up and like pin it to Israel. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, all right, the big dick Egyptians. Here we go. Let's see. So I stretched out my hand against you and reduced your territory. Oh, the pimp took some of her corners away from her because she fucked the big dick Egyptians.
Yeah. I don't ever want to hear anything about how I insert dick into the Bible. Okay?
You do, but it's actually here this time.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I feel like it's there the other times too. You just got to read between the lines.
I mean, you don't even have to read in between the lines here. It's literally right there.
No, the dick is literally in your face.
Yep. Okay, let's see. I stretched out my hand against you, reduce your territory. I gave you over to the greed of your enemies, your daughters of the Philistines, who were shocked by your lewd conduct. You engaged in prostitution with the Assyrians too, because you were insatiable. And even after that, you were still not satisfied. Then you increased your promiscuity to include Babylonia, a land of merchants. A land of merchants. But even with this, you were not satisfied.
You fucked the entire country of Babylonia. Damn, girl.
Yeah. I am filled with fury against you, declares the sovereign Lord, when you do all these things, acting like a brazen prostitute. When you built your mounds at every street corner and made your lofty shrines in every public square, you were unlike a prostitute because you scorned payment. You adulterous wife. You prefer strangers to your own husband. All prostitutes receive gifts, but you give gifts to all your lovers, bribing them to come to you from everywhere for your illicit favors. So in your prostitution, you are the opposite of others. No one runs after you for your favors. You are the very opposite, for you give payment and none is given to you.
So a reverse prostitute.
No, not a reverse prostitute. She's not a whore. She's a slut. There's the difference.
Okay.
So God spends all this time making her out to be a prostitute, but really she's not. She's just a big giant slut.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And he's shaming her for it right now.
Okay. Slut shaming in the Bible.
Yeah. We're not done with the story yet.
Oh, great. Bring on the dick.
Therefore, you prostitute, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you poured out your lust and exposed your naked body in your promiscuity with your lovers, and because of all your detestable idols, and because you gave them to your children's blood, therefore I am going to gather all your lovers with whom you found pleasure, those you loved as well as those you hated. I will gather them against you from all around, and I will strip you in front of them, and they will see you stark naked. I will sentence you to the punishment of women who commit adultery and who shed blood, because it's a sin for a woman to shed blood. I will bring on you the blood vengeance of my wrath and jealous anger. Then I will deliver you into the hands of your lovers, and they will tear down your mounds and destroy your lofty shrines. They will strip you of your clothes and take your fine jewelry and leave you stark naked. They will bring a mob against you, who will stone you and hack you to pieces with their swords. They will burn down your houses and inflict punishment on you in the sight of many women. I will put a stop to your prostitution, and you will no longer pay your lovers. Then my wrath against you will subside, and my jealous anger will turn away from you. I will be calm and no longer angry. Because you did not remember the days of your youth, but enraged me with all these things, I will surely bring down on your head what you have done, declares the sovereign Lord. Did you not add lewdness to all of your other detestable practices? So,
damn.
The point of this is Israel, the prostitute, right?
Mm-hmm.
The adulterous, unfaithful wife. God makes Israel his wife. His belongs to him.
Mm-hmm.
And the people of Israel, they worshipped other gods. They commingled with people in other countries, people in other regions, right?
Mm-hmm.
They practiced their customs, religious and otherwise, right?
Right.
And that's the prostitution, right? They worshipped other idols. They had customs that weren't customs of Israel that are written in the Septuagint, right? They had beliefs that weren't written for them to follow, and they were following other practices. Even if they did some of the things they were supposed to do, they still did all the other things with all of the other people, which they weren't supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why God is mad, because he told them not to do that, but they're doing that anyway. So God's going to punish them for doing it. I'm not really sure why he couldn't just say that, considering he said that I feel like we go through this every time we have a Bible podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He said that. So I don't know why we have to make it about a prostitute.
Yeah,
I don't know why we have to talk about a young teenage girl and her boobs.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why we have to talk about, like...
Graping her?
I don't know why we have to talk about that. I don't know why we have to talk about, like, all this. This just doesn't... It feels unnecessary.
It feels very misogynistic.
Yeah.
It is the Bible.
But what we learned is whoever wrote this knows that Egyptians have big dicks. So ladies, if you're looking for a do, Egyptians, apparently.
Yeah.
It's in the Bible.
It's fact in the Bible. Egyptians have big dicks and everybody wants the big dick Egyptians.
And God and dick envy from the Egyptians, obviously.
And those male idols.
So all that leads me to believe is God's glory isn't quite as glorious as he'd like everybody to think it is.
It's a lot of talk, but he just needs a little curtain.
Okay. Are you ready to continue?
Yeah.
Everyone who quotes Proverbs will quote this proverb about you. Like mother, like daughter. You are a true daughter of your mother who despised her husband and her children. And you are a true sister of your sisters who despised their husbands and their children. Your mother was a Hittite and your father an Amorite. Your older sister was a Samaria who lived to the north of you with her daughters. And your younger sister who lived to the south of you with her daughters was Sodom. You not only followed in their ways and copied their detestable practices, but in all your ways you soon became more depraved than they. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, your sister Sodom and her daughters never did what you and your daughters have done. So basically he's saying Israel's worse than everybody else. They're not only they not only do these things, they're worse.
Right. If memory serves, God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So I'm just kind of curious as to why God doesn't destroy Israel.
I mean, he's gonna.
I meant like he destroyed them with like fire and brimstone and shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jerusalem and all them still exist today.
Yeah, that seems problematic, doesn't it?
A little bit.
This is remnant. It's the remnant.
It's the remnant.
Yeah.
Got it.
Now, this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did. God, wait, now he's fat shaming? Fuck. They did not help the poor and needy. They were haughty and did detestable things before me. Therefore, I did away with them as you have seen. Samaria did not commit half the sins you did. You have done more detestable things than they and have made your sisters seem righteous by all these things you have done. Bear your disgrace, for you have furnished some justification for your sisters. Because your sins were more vile than theirs, they appear more righteous than you. So then be ashamed and bear your disgrace, for you have made your sisters appear righteous.
Well, where's this at? In Ezekiel?
This is Ezekiel 16:44 through 52.
It's real because right there it tells us why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed for being ungrateful and like just basically being shitty people in general.
Yeah, that's probably going to be closer to 48.
Okay. But still, like, because a lot of times Christians will say that Sodom and Gomorrah was killed for, homosexual activity. But in fact, they were actually destroyed because they were not all that. They didn't greet the angels like they should have or something. Like they just weren't nice people. And so it's like that's the reason. It's not just the wanting to rape the angels.
No.
Or grape the angels. It's because they were just, shitty fucking hosts.
Yeah, they were arrogant, overfed, unconcerned. They didn't help the poor and needy. They were haughty and did detestable things.
It's just, this makes a really good, like, if any time anybody brings up Sodom and Gomorrah as far as like LGBTQ goes, this is a really good verse to throw back in their face about like why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. I mean, refuting them with their own theology, I feel it makes the strongest case.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Anyway, it's kind of a mental note for me, I guess.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to continue. However, I will restore the fortunes of Sodom and her daughters, and of Samaria and her daughters, and your fortunes along with them, so that you may bear your disgrace and be ashamed of all you have done in giving them comfort. And your sisters, Sodom with her daughters and Samaria with her daughters, will return to what they were before, and you and your daughters will return to what you were before. You would not even mention your sister Sodom in the day of your pride, before your wickedness was uncovered. Even so, you are now scorned by the daughters of Edom, and all her neighbors, and all the daughters of the Philistines, all those around you who despise you. You will bear the consequences of your lewdness and your detestable practices, declares the Lord. This is what... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, fuck you.
This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will deal with you as you deserve, because you have despised my oath by breaking the covenant. Yet I will remember the covenant I made with you in the days of your youth, and I will establish an everlasting covenant with you. Then you will remember your ways and be ashamed when you receive your sisters, both those who are older than you and those who are younger. I will give them to you as daughters, but not on the basis of my covenant with you. So I will establish my covenant with you, and you will know that I am the Lord. Then when I make atonement for you, for all you have done, You will remember and be ashamed and never again open your mouth because of your humiliation, declares the sovereign Lord.
Obviously. Fuck yeah, Lord.
So again, we come back to, I'm going to fuck you up because you fucked up. But don't worry, because I'm going to remember the covenant that we had with each other. And it's going to be fine.
Wait.
But only for some of you.
If he's going to remember the covenant, why is he fucking them up?
After he's mad. He'll remember it after he's pissed.
Oh, so
know,
it's
when his anger when subsides a little bit and he realizes he's being a total dickbag, then he'll calm down and he'll be like, oh, fuck, I can't totally fuck these people up because I made a covenant with them. Mm-hmm. So I've got to save a few and calm the fuck down.
Yeah, so he has rage blackouts.
Yeah, he needs to count to 10 before he does shit.
Yeah, you would think. I feel like counting to 10 and waiting until your anger or anxiety subsides might be a good thing for you.
Yeah, my mom always told me to count to 10 when I was mad about something. And I remember this one time, this is totally off, like in left field, but one time I was really pissed at this apartment complex I lived at it was my very first apartment. I think it was 19. Mm-hmm. And I was really pissed at the people who ran the apartment complex. And so I was on the phone with my mom and she was like, you need to count to 10. And I was like, I'll fucking count to 10 on my way over there. She just thought that was the funniest thing. Because I was like storming over to the apartment office, counting to 10. I don't even remember what I was mad about. That's how important. Anyway, that's the end of that allegory. Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. This is the 2 eagles in a vine, right? We're back to vine shit. But
vines?
Let's add eagles to it.
Why the fuck is he all concerned with vines?
Well, I mean...
are there a lot of jungle vines in the fucking Middle East?
Well, there's a lot about grapevines. Plus, they use grapevines and vines in general as, like, they connect that to the Messiah and the vine that bears his fruit. And, like, the vines are it's one of those things you talk about. Like, it's a magical number. A vine is a fucking magical thing, right?
Okay.
The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set forth an allegory and tell it to the Israelites as a parable. Say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says, a great eagle with powerful wings, long feathers, and full plumage of varied colors. Okay. You have to tell them, Ezekiel, you have to tell them how many feathers this fuck had. It was the fluffiest fucking eagle I've ever seen. Full plumage. Sorry. Anyway, the fucking big ass fluffy bird came to Lebanon. Taking hold of the top of a cedar, he broke off its topmost shoot and carried it away to a land of merchants, where he planted it in a city of traders. Not traitors, traders.
Like Walmart.
Oh, that's where you got that. Traders. I was like, where the fuck did he get Walmart? Got it. Okay. He took one of the seedlings of the land and put it in fertile soil. He planted it like a willow by abundant water, and it sprouted and became a low spreading vine. Its branches turned toward him, but its roots remained under it. So it became a vine and produced branches and put out leafy boughs. But there was another great eagle with powerful wings, also full plumage. The vine now sent out its roots toward him from the plot where it was planted and stretched out its branches to him for water. It had been planted in good soil by abundant water so that it would produce branches, bear fruit, and become a splendid vine.
When it says full plumage, I can't help but to think that it's talking about, and this eagle definitely had a big dick, okay? Full plumage here.
Plumage is feathers.
I know. I'm
right?
saying it's innuendo.
Not the feathers of its wings, but the plumage is the feathers on its body.
Okay.
The soft, not the feathers you find like on the ground, really.
I know.
Okay.
You're still not saying anything.
It has nothing to do with dick.
Bird dick.
Which has nothing to do with plumage. Anyway. So we know about the other eagle, right? Say to them, and the point of this is that you plant it in good soil, it produces branches, bears fruit, and becomes splendid, right? Israel, right. That's what he wants Israel to happen to Israel. They'll follow his word, they'll be splendid, have water, which is him, right? He waters and takes care of them, and then they will bear fruit and be awesome.
Okay.
Say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Will it thrive? Will it not be uprooted and stripped of its fruit so that it withers? All its new growth will wither. It will not take a strong arm or many people to pull it up by the roots. It has been planted, but will it thrive? Will it not wither completely when the east wind strikes it, wither away in the plot where it grew? Then the word of the Lord came to me, say this to the rebellious people. Do you not know what these things mean? No, God, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Say to them, the king of Babylon went to Jerusalem and carried off her king and her nobles, bringing them back with him to Babylon. Then he took a member of the royal family and made a treaty with him, putting him under oath. He also carried away the leading men of the land so that the kingdom would be brought low, unable to rise again, surviving only by keeping his treaty. But the king rebelled against him by sending his envoys to Egypt, where the big dicks live, to get horses and a large army. Will he succeed? Will he who does such things escape? Will he break the treaty and yet escape? As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, he shall die in Babylon, in the land of the king who put him on the throne, whose oath he despised and whose treaty he broke. Pharaoh, with his mighty army and great horde, will be of no help to him in war, when ramps are built and siege workers erected to destroy many lives. He despised the oath by breaking the covenant, because he had given his hand in a pledge and yet did all these things. He shall not escape. So what he's talking about here, just in case you don't know, is he's talking about King Zedekiah.
Okay.
And what happens to King Zedekiah and how he is ruined.
Lord Zed gets ruined.
Well, you know, he gets kidnapped, right, and taken to Babylon. So this is like the detailed description of what happens to Zedekiah, but it doesn't say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. As surely as I live, I will repay him for despising my oath and breaking my covenant. I will spread my net for him, and he will be caught in my snare. I will bring him to Babylon and execute judgment on him there, because he was unfaithful to me. All his choice troops will fall by the sword, and the survivors will be scattered to the winds. Then you will know that the Lord have spoken, or that I, the Lord, have spoken. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself will take a shoot from the very top of a cedar and plant it. I will break off a tender spring from its topmost shoots and plant it on a high and lofty mountain. On the mountain heights of Israel I will plant it, and it will produce branches and bear fruit and become a splendid cedar. Birds of every kind will nest in it, and they will find shelter in the shade of its branches. All the trees of the forest will know that I, the Lord, bring down the tall tree and make the low tree grow tall. I dry up the green tree and make the dry tree flourish. I, the Lord, have spoken, and I will do it.
Honey, maybe I'm wrong.
Huh.
But trees don't think.
I mean, in this world, they do.
A world according to God, trees think God is the best God.
I mean, the trees are going to know.
Apparently.
You could be a totally wet tree, and that could be a totally dry tree, but I can take your water and give it to the dry one, so don't fuck with me. I don't know.
What?
That's what he's saying.
I'll fucking sap all the water out of you, and I'll inject it into that bitch right there.
Yeah, he says, I dry up the green tree and make the dry tree flourish.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's saying, what he's saying right here is, I'm the one that knocks.
I am the one that knocks.
That's what he's saying right here, but not nearly as badass, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's the end of Ezekiel 17. We still have one more chapter in Ezekiel, but that's the end of the 3 parables, the 3 allegories that we're going to talk about today. So, yeah, we just went through the useless vine, right?
Yep.
The bitch whore wife. Well, slutty wife, right? Because she doesn't get paid.
Slutty wife.
And the eagles and the trees. Vine.
Whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so in Ezekiel 18, we're going to talk about personal accountability.
This ought to be rich.
Mm-hmm. The word of the Lord came to me. What do you people mean by quoting this proverb about the land of Israel? The parents eat sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. Apparently, that's a proverb that they say in Israel.
Apparently,
for reasons that nobody understands.
They don't have good proverbs or parables.
No, it's terrible. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, you will no longer quote this proverb in Israel, because apparently he doesn't fucking like it. For everyone who belongs to me, the parent as well as the child, both alike belong to me. The one who sins is the one who will die. Suppose there is a righteous man who does what is just and right. He does not eat the mountain shrines or look to the idols of Israel. He does not defile his neighbor's wife or have sexual relations with a woman during her period.
Because that's important.
Yep. He does not oppress anyone, but returns to what he took in pledge for a loan. He does not commit robbery, but gives food to the hungry, and provides clothing for the naked. He does not lend to them at interest or take a profit from them. He withholds his hand from doing wrong and judges fairly between two parties. He follows my decrees and faithfully keeps my laws. That man is righteous. He will surely live, declares the sovereign Lord.
Okay.
Suppose he, the guy we just described, has a violent son who sheds blood or does any of these other things. These other things, right?
Right.
Though the father has done none of them. He eats the mountain shrines, defiles his neighbor's wife, oppresses the poor and needy, commits robbery, does not return what he took in pledge, looks to the idols, does detestable things, and lends at interest, because charging interest to people is wrong. Let's tell the banks and everybody else.
Right. The Bible says so you gotta stop that shit.
Yeah. Will such a man live? He will not, because he has done all these detestable things. He is to be put to death. His blood will be on his own head. But suppose this son has a son who sees all the sins his father commits, and though he sees them, he does not do such things. He does not eat at the mountain shrines or look to the idols of Israel. He does not defile his neighbor's wife. He does not oppress anyone or requiring a pledge for a loan. He does not commit robbery, but gives his food to the hungry and provides clothing for the naked. He withholds his hand from mistreating the poor and takes no interest or profit from them. He keeps my laws and follows my decrees. He will not die for his father's sin, but will surely live. But his father will die for his own sin because he practiced extortion, robbed his brother, and did what was wrong among his people. Yet you ask, why does the son not share the guilt of the father? And this is a great question. Do you know why? Do you know why? This is such a good question.
Is it because God said something completely contradictory before?
It is because God has said totally contradictory shit many times before. Okay? In Numbers chapter 14, God says, the Lord is slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, forgiving the iniquity and transgressing, but he will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation. That's in Numbers 14. Mm-hmm. In Exodus, you shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord, am your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. Right? So in Numbers and in Exodus, he says the exact opposite to this. So this is a good fucking question. Why does the son not share the guilt of his father? That's what you said it was before.
Dumb bitch.
Yeah. Since the son has done what is just and right and has been careful to keep all my decrees, he will surely live. The one who sins is the one who will die. The child will not share the guilt of the parent, nor will the parent share the guilt of a child. The righteousness of the righteous will be credited to them, and the wickedness of the wicked will be charged against them. Now, this seems way more fair than earlier.
It does.
But it's absolutely contradictory.
Yep, because the Bible's horribly written.
Not great. Okay, we have one more part here. You ready?
Yes.
But, so we just did the righteous will be credited with righteousness, the wicked credited with wickedness, right?
Yep.
But if a wicked person turns away from all the sins they have committed and keeps all my decrees and does what is just and right, that person will surely live. They will not die. None of the offenses they have committed will be remembered against them. Because of the righteous things they have done, they will live. Do I take any pleasure in the death of the wicked, declares the sovereign Lord? Rather, am I not pleased when they turn from their wicked ways and live? I mean, I guess. But I
would think so.
Yeah, so this is basically saying, no matter what bad shit you do in your life, if you repent and become righteous, then all of that will be forgotten and you'll be saved. Okay?
Yeah.
But if a righteous person turns from their righteousness and commits sin and does the same detestable things the wicked person does, will they live? None of the righteous things that person has done will be remembered. Because of the unfaithfulness they are guilty of, and because of the sins they have committed, they will die. So if a wicked person turns righteous, they'll be saved, and all their sins forgotten. If a righteous person turns wicked, only their wickedness will be remembered.
Right.
And their righteousness will be forgotten, and they will die.
So not even if they repent?
Well, I guess that would have to be they were righteous, then wicked, then righteous. So I think we have to follow like back and forth and back. But if they die while they're wicked, then they'll die. None of any of the righteous things that they did would be remembered. But the wicked person who turned righteous, their righteousness will be remembered, but the wickedness forgotten.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yet you say, the word of the Lord is not just. Hear you, Israelites, is my way unjust? Is it not your ways that are unjust? If a righteous person turns from their righteousness and commits sin, they will die for it. Because of the sin they have committed, they will die. But if a wicked person turns away from the wickedness they have committed and does what is just and right, they will save their life. Because they consider all the offenses they have committed and turned away from them, that person will surely live, they will not die. Yet the Israelites say, the way of the Lord is not just. Are my ways unjust, people of Israel? Is it not your ways that are unjust? That really doesn't explain it. He sounds like Tucker Carlson. You know how Tucker sounds when he just fucking asks questions? He just repeats shit and asks questions.
Well, I feel like God's out there like, I'm unjust? What about you fucking unjust motherfuckers? And I'm unjust.
But he doesn't explain it, really.
Right.
Yeah. Therefore, you Israelites, I will judge each of you according to your own ways, declares the sovereign Lord. Repent. Turn away from all your offenses. Then sin will not be your downfall. Rid yourselves of all the offenses you have committed and get a new heart and a new spirit. Why will you die, people of Israel? For I take no pleasure in the death of anyone. Disagree.
Yeah, he's definitely happy about killing some of these motherfuckers.
Declares the sovereign Lord. Repent and live.
I'm not happy beating your ass all the time. Okay? You make me do it.
Yeah. So that's all for today.
Woo!
Next time we're going to pick up with Ezekiel 19, right? We're going to pick up right where we left off. And Ezekiel is going to write a lament for the kings. So we're going to read about that. And we're going to actually hear in Ezekiel 20, we talk about the history of rebelliousness in Israel and Judah, right?
Okay.
So we're going to talk about how they rebelled and what that was. All about that. We're also going to talk about the present rebelliousness and what they're doing currently that is causing a problem. Because it's not just in the past. It's now. It's how they're being now. He also talks about how there will be a time of no rebellion.
Okay.
He tells them about the homeland.
All right.
And the sword of judgment.
His dick. Got it.
Well, and he also talks about how Babylonia is a sword. Because, God uses the other nations to be a sword, quote unquote, on Israel. Yeah.
Right.
And then there's going to be Ezekiel's going to give Zedekiah a warning.
Okay.
Okay. And there's a few other things, but that's the basic gist of it.
Okay.
Then the week after that, we're going to be back to promiscuous sisters.
Ooh, promiscuous sisters. See, I don't even have to mention it. Well, heathens, I hope that you enjoyed today's Bible study. If you would, please go down below, leave us a comment down in the comment section, and also smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of Bible study.
And as always, don't forget to stand up and use your voice.
Bye, heathens.
Bye, y'all.